In the annals of history, the Indian independence movement holds an immortal place. As we delve into the past, we find ourselves in the latter part of the 19th century, a time of great unrest and desire for change in India. The seeds of the independence movement were sown during this period against the backdrop of British colonial rule. A pivotal catalyst for the movement was the formation of the Indian National Congress in 1885. Initially, this body was intended to be a platform for the civil discussions between the Indians and the British. But as the years rolled on, it gradually transformed into a beacon of hope and resistance against colonial rule, igniting the flame of independence among the masses. The turn of the 20th century brought more challenges. In 1905, the partition of Bengal was implemented by the British on the grounds of administrative efficiency. This division, however, was based on religious lines and resulted in widespread communal tensions and violence. The move was met with vehement opposition and sparked the Swadeshi movement, a significant stride towards self-reliance and freedom. Fast forward to 1919, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre marked a turning point in India's struggle for independence. The brutal incident, where innocent civilians were ruthlessly gunned down on the orders of British officer General Dyer, sent shockwaves throughout the nation. The massacre became a rallying point for the Indian independence movement, intensifying the call for freedom and sowing the seeds of non-cooperation. As we navigate through these events, we realize the struggle for Indian independence was not a smooth journey. It was a path laden with obstacles, sacrifices, and immense courage. The spirit of resistance against oppression, the quest for self-rule, the embrace of Swadeshi, and the unfaltering commitment to non-violence, all these elements collectively shaped the narrative of the Indian independence movement. The movement for independence was a turbulent journey, fraught with challenges and sacrifices. It was through this tumultuous struggle that the foundation for a free and independent India was laid, paving the way for a nation that would soon emerge from the shadows of colonial rule. As the Indian independence movement was gaining momentum, a new player was emerging on the world stage: the United Nations. In the ashes of a world torn apart by the Second World War, the United Nations was born in 1945. Its birth was a beacon of hope, a promise of a future where international disputes would be settled by dialogue, not warfare. Its founding principles, enshrined in the UN Charter, are a commitment to maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations among nations, promoting social progress, better living standards, and human rights. The United Nations is a stage where nations big and small can voice their concerns, where the powerful and the weak stand on equal footing. With its unique international character, the UN can take action on a wide range of issues and provide a forum for its 193 member states to express their views through the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, and other bodies and committees. But the United Nations is not just a platform for dialogue, it is a catalyst for action. One of its key roles in world politics is to maintain peace and security. The UN does this through peacekeeping operations, conflict prevention, and humanitarian assistance. When conflicts arise, the UN is there, mediating peace talks, sending peacekeepers, or coordinating relief efforts. In addition to its peacekeeping role, the UN has a crucial part to play in decolonization. Since its inception, the UN has recognized the right of all peoples to self-determination. It has actively supported the process of decolonization, assisting territories in transitioning to self-government or independence. By the late 1960s, more than 80 countries had gained independence, a process in which the UN played a pivotal role. The UN, with its commitment to self-determination, was destined to cross paths with the Indian independence movement. The next scene will delve deeper into the UN's involvement in this historic event, an involvement that demonstrates the United Nations' commitment to peace, justice, and freedom. As India's struggle for independence intensified, the UN was not a mere observer. Instead, it was a body that played a significant part in the journey that led to India's freedom from British rule. Let's begin by understanding the principles that the United Nations stands for. One of the primary objectives of the UN, as outlined in its charter, is to promote and encourage respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, without distinction of race, sex, language, or religion. This principle, in essence, was a beacon for the decolonization movement worldwide, including India's struggle for independence. The United Nations' commitment to decolonization was evident in its creation of the Decolonization Committee in the mid-20th century. This committee was tasked with overseeing the implementation of the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples. It was a bold statement, a commitment to the idea that all peoples have an inalienable right to complete freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty, and the integrity of their national territory. Now, let's turn our attention to the Indian subcontinent. As India's struggle for independence reached its peak, the UN's principles of decolonization and self-determination were instrumental in influencing the British decision to grant India its independence. The pressure from the international community, led by the UN, was a factor that the British could not ignore. But the UN's role didn't end with the granting of independence. The partition of India and Pakistan, a direct consequence of independence, led to one of the most significant mass migrations in human history and sparked communal violence that claimed countless lives. The UN, recognizing the gravity of the situation, stepped in to mediate. Through its various agencies, the UN provided humanitarian aid, helped in the resettlement of refugees, and worked tirelessly to ease the tensions between the two newly formed nations. It also played a crucial role in addressing the dispute over the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, a conflict that has its roots in the partition and continues to be a source of contention between India and Pakistan. The UN's involvement, however, was not without its criticisms. Many argued that the UN could have done more, could have intervened earlier, or could have taken a more decisive stance. Yet, despite these criticisms, the UN's role in India's journey to independence and the challenges that followed cannot be understated. So, as we reflect on the UN's involvement in the Indian independence, we realize that the UN was not a mere observer. It was an active participant, a mediator, and above all, a body that upheld the principles of self-determination and human rights, principles that were at the very heart of India's struggle for independence. The UN played a significant, though often overlooked, role in India's journey to independence. It was a body that, in its commitment to the principles of decolonization and human rights, helped shape the course of India's history. The dawn of independence brought both joy and challenges for India. As the sun rose on the 15th of August, 1947, it lit a country that was free but also fractured. The partition of British India into two separate nations, India and Pakistan, had sparked a wave of violence, causing immense human suffering and displacing millions of people. Partition-related violence was a grim reality that the newborn nation had to confront. Thousands of families were uprooted from their homes, forced to leave behind the life they had known. The echoes of this tumultuous time can still be heard today in the stories of those who lived through it. They tell tales of loss and longing, but also of resilience and hope. This massive migration, one of the largest in human history, resulted in a refugee crisis that India had to grapple with. The United Nations, still in its infancy, stepped in to provide aid and support. It was a test of the UN's commitment to peacekeeping and humanitarian assistance, and it rose to the occasion. However, the UN's involvement in India did not end with the resolution of the refugee crisis. Another significant area where the UN played a role was the Kashmir dispute, a conflict that had its roots in the partition. The issue of Kashmir has been a source of tension between India and Pakistan for decades. The United Nations has been involved in efforts to mediate and resolve this dispute, underscoring its commitment to fostering peace and stability in the region. India's independence was a milestone not just for the country, but for the UN's mission of promoting self-determination and peace worldwide. The challenges that arose in the aftermath of independence tested the UN's resolve and highlighted its crucial role in navigating complex political landscapes. As we look back, we see a narrative of struggle and triumph, a story of a nation's journey to freedom and a global organization's endeavor to uphold peace and human rights. From the stirrings of the Indian independence movement to the dawn of a free nation, the journey was a testament to the resilience of the Indian people. The UN's role in the Indian independence movement and its aftermath underscores its commitment to peace, justice, and human rights. It serves as a reminder of the values that the organization stands for and the lengths it will go to uphold them. The story of India's independence and the UN's role in it is a compelling reminder of the enduring pursuit of freedom and peace in our world. It is a testament to the power of collective action and the indomitable spirit of humanity in the face of adversity.